Welcome, everyone. This is part two of our series called Calling to the Heart of a Man. And in part two, we are still interviewing with William Ruff, who we call lovingly Mook. And the title of this episode, subtitle of this episode is Passing the Torch. And Mook has shared with us his journey, his calling for helping youth to develop to their potential. He has gone through many challenges and he's coming out in a way that has impacted the lives of those who, like myself, have watched him walk out this journey. And so, Mook, thank you again for being with us on this episode of Passing the Torch. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for
That's
having me.
good. That's good. So, okay, I'm going to start off again with another question. And there was an incident where a man named Moses was called to an assignment. And in that assignment, God asked him to be his representative, to lead a group of people that some say totaled over 3 million people out of bondage,
Mm.
not for a year, not for 10 years, but over 400 years. Can you imagine
Not at all.
not only being physically enslaved, but mentally enslaved?
Mm.
And what that means, because to me, it's a twofold cord, not only to be brought out physically, but to be brought out mentally.
Mm.
And I know that you have a calling, you told us, and I want to know, how have you seen changes in the mindset since you've started this journey of youth development and breaking generational curses? Or is there sometimes is there frustration where you can lead, as they say in the back in the day, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can lead them and give them
Hmm.
resources, but will they take advantage of it? It's almost like
Right.
passing the torch. I've got this in my hand, I've got this information. Now I want to hand it to you. So, how has that been? Are there challenges? Let us know.
So there used to be, right? There used to
Okay.
be, but um, my grandmother. So a while back, I talked to my grandma very often, right? And I had recently did a documentary on her, and just talking to her about her life and stuff. And she told me something that was just profound, right? And that was the same thing, like you can lead a whole horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can provide people with all the information in the world, all the information, and you can want the best for people, and you can give them the resources to be the best, but people still have free will to do the things that they want to do. So for me, I don't attach myself with saying, if I tell you something, you have to do it, or it
Mm.
has to work, or I have the answers. It's more like I have the information. Even with the youth, right? When I'm telling them, here's where the scholarships are, here's how you do the financial aid. I've done my part. I can't do it with you, right? I can't go to school with you. So it's like
Right,
the
right.
hesitation is gone from my grandmother instilling in me, you can want the best for your kids and you can want the best for people, but we all are still going to do the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
So I don't personally get discouraged or in my mind saying, is it not working? Am I like I can only provide the information?
Mm. Mm. And you know what? Sometimes that happens not only just in what you called to do, but when I'm called to do, and especially when you have examples,
Right.
like somebody did such and such, and this helped them, and you would think that would be enough. But there's something about the human element, that element of choice, that we all have to deal with. I've
Yes,
had to
and then
deal with.
yes,
I've had
yes,
opportunities and didn't always take the opportunity. I didn't know how to seize it. I didn't, but there was a level of immaturity in my mind too at the time.
right.
And so hopefully, being 73 years old, I've kind of learned some things, and hopefully I've gotten a little smarter. Um, and so that's why it's important to me, information, because there's so many people that are missing out because they just don't know.
Yeah, and you know what happens in life, Nana, is like people, like if you tell somebody something, right, and if you give somebody the foundation, even if they fall off track, at some point it hits them in the back of their head where they hear your voices, right?
Right.
So, for example, my kids, right, from the top to the bottom, they'll be in a situation, and I've had this a lot where they'll say, when I'm telling them something, because I'm a stickler, so I'm telling them, and I'm not preaching to them, but like I'm on them, and they're not receiving it how I want them to receive it. But then later on, they'll come home and say, "So and so happened today, and I heard you in the back of my mind."
Wow.
Right? Like I've had
Right.
Jalen do that. I've had Alana do that. I've had Ariana do that recently. Whereas like I told you, but now you're starting to get it.
Mm,
And
that's
that is
important.
and that is manifesting into Jalen right now.
Right. Right.
Right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he is who he is supposed to become.
Right.
and and
Right.
and and in the back of his mind, I know he hear me, his mama, you, Papa, all these people, and now he's getting it, and so it
Yeah.
just makes me joyful to just
You know
know that.
what? That's all you need. Sometimes you just need one person, just
Yes,
one person
yes,
to say, I got it. And sometimes they don't always tell you at first. Sometimes they have to go through some things and sometimes some hard things. And then they can tell you, now I get it. Now I
now I get it.
understand. Now I know what you were talking about. And that
Yeah,
that means a lot.
yeah,
So
that feeling is priceless.
yes, I want to know too. Um, sometimes we look at ourselves, and you have mentioned this a little bit, and we feel inadequate. We feel we've got this desire, but how? What do I have? Like myself, well, I'm not the youngest person on the block. I don't have the lights, and I don't have the fancy this and that, and to draw. What could I offer anyone? Did you get to a point? Did you have those thoughts of like, what do I have in my hand? I see what I want to do, but what do I have? What could I offer? How did you feel when this call, this burning desire in you? How did you deal with that?
Um, so again, a lot of my motivation comes from a lack of,
Mm,
right? So
mm-hmm,
a lack of love, a lack of compassion, a lack of a lot of things instilled in me that, you know, you can do it. And then when I started having kids, it was just like failure is not an option, right? You can't bundle your sorrows up because you
mm,
have these people that are dependent on you. And so post pre having kids, it was probably just I didn't focus on things like that. But post having kids, it's like you have to get up. You can't make excuses on why you can't, right? And why you shouldn't. You just have to do.
mm-hmm,
So that's
mm-hmm.
my mindset now. Like I just do
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we
yeah.
all have to we all have to do this thing called life. And it's how you do this thing called life that really determines what you leave behind.
Wow,
Right? Like
wow.
what do you want to leave behind?
What?
Because we can't
Wow.
take materialistic things with us. We can't take the
No.
money that's in our bank account. So what do you want to
No.
leave behind? And for me, it's like I want to leave behind something, and that something
Wow.
has nothing to do with money, nothing to do with none of that. Like I want to leave behind my family and my kids, knowing that we ain't gonna make excuses when
Mm.
stuff start getting bad and we start having bad storms. We might get some sunshine in the morning, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you just got
yeah.
to weather the storms, and so I try to stay as cup half full as possible.
Okay,
I
okay.
think that answers your question, right?
Well, I see this. Let me tell you again, I'm not looking for someone to answer what I think,
Right.
what they think I might think.
Yes.
This is a
Agreed.
heart to heart conversation.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay.
This
Well,
is a
good. Good.
conversation where nobody had a script. We're not reading a prompter.
Right. Right.
Um, we didn't go over what we were going to say. We didn't practice
Agreed.
because there are too many people that they have things to say or it's locked up because they're afraid of what somebody else would think about them or is this the right answer or whatever,
Right.
whatever. No,
Okay. Good.
this whole episode, this whole series was, like I said, heart to heart, as if you and I were sitting at our table.
Gotcha.
We're not looking around and saying, "Is the camera on me?" No, we're just talking. We're talking from our heart. I'm not saying that everything I'm saying is right. I'm not saying everything that you're saying is right.
Right.
But it's almost like when you've been in a cage for so long
Mm.
and the cage falls, the walls fall. Sometimes I get out of control because I'm not used to being free.
Yes.
But I'm
Yes.
learning. I'm learning. I'm learning what it is. I'm learning I have a responsibility for whatever time that I have left on this earth, that I
Man.
have responsibility responsibility to be the best me that I can
Yes.
be. I might not get it all right, but I want to be the best me. So my heart, Luke, is what my thoughts are. What do I want to do that will impact the next generation? And you
Mm.
kind of touched on that a little bit. So,
Yes.
what kind of legacy do you want to leave long after Mook physically is not here? What kind of impact do you still want to last, even long after you're gone?
So, and this is mainly for my family, right, and for my kids, right.
Or
I want
whoever,
my
yes.
Yeah, I want my kids to know that I put forth every single effort to create a world for them that I didn't have.
Mm,
And so not just my kids, but my kids' kids, right? And my kids'
okay.
kids' kids, so that my name is always spoken in a
Mm-hmm.
positive light.
Right.
Because that word integrity to me means like doing what's right when nobody is watching, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
there was a time where it was just like, okay, can't nobody see this, but so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I just
Mm-hmm.
want my legacy to be that I transitioned that and I put forth every single effort. So all of my decision making, all of my choices was for my kids and for my family.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I just want them to know that and that I was present.
Mm.
Right? It's very important to me because I know a lot of times, people go off and they make a lot of money and they say, you know what, I'm doing this for the family. And then the kids grow up and they say, I never even saw my dad. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that aspect of it is very important that my kids know that I'm gonna always be present, even when they're, you know,
Yes.
adults. I want them to always know. So if I can leave with that
Mm.
legacy of just my dad was present. My dad, I know what love is,
Right.
right? Love isn't just
Right.
a word, love is an action.
Yes,
And
it
I
is.
know that my dad loved me. And if I can get that, Nana, I don't need $1 million. I don't need to
Okay.
get him $1 million. I just want him to have that.
Yes, yes. And you know
Yes.
that that's why you know we call you Mook, but Mook, you the real deal. I'm telling you, you are the real deal. There is
No,
nothing fake or
I
phony
appreciate that.
about you.
Yeah, not at
And
all.
and we need that. We do because there's a good friend of mine. We always say to each other, we're all Kool-Aid with just different flavors.
Yes.
And you have a flavor, I have a flavor, and there are people, like I said before, who have questions that you have the answer to.
Right.
You're the answer to somebody's question.
Got you.
And that is very important in a world where sometimes you kind of get lost. Everything is known by a number.
Right.
You
Right.
got to have a code. Every time you look up something, we're going to send you a code to your phone
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that you can have access, or you need a password for this. And I understand about security and everything, but sometimes I don't know about you, but my life is like, oh my goodness, I have to have a book of all the passcodes and the passwords
Agreed. Agreed.
and I got to remember and oh my goodness, don't didn't they tell me don't use the last seven passwords. Then I
Right.
got to think of something totally different.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, yeah. So when it's something about, as you said, being present.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't mean be perfect, but it
Right.
meant
Agreed.
present.
Just present, right? Just being
Yes,
available and present.
yes,
And that just
yes.
extends into adulthood. And I tell my kids all the time, like, I'm always gonna be your parent. Like no matter how old you get, no matter how many bad decisions you make, if you're ever in a situation and you can't turn to nobody, you turn to us.
Right,
We gonna figure it
right.
out, right? You gonna hear my mouth, but we gonna figure it out together.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah.
really good. That's why, in a relay race, when I was thinking about you and passing the torch, I was thinking about how important not only the beginning of the race, but the ending of the race, but the middle too.
Mm-hmm.
That every
Yes.
time the relay race, it's important that you pass that torch at the right time. It's important that the person receives the torch.
Yes.
The slightest hesitation or being off can cause the whole team to lose.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
it's very important how when we pass the torch, and to know that we're developing future generations. So
Yes.
even as you were talking in your family and my family, I mean, we have people that are in the financial, sector,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
religious sector, sports. We have somebody who's a singer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We
Mm-hmm.
have people in who work in the medical field, a fire department.
Yep.
I mean, um, multifaceted people,
Yes. I
and
agree.
all of these gifts are necessary for the society that we live in.
Agreed.
What would we do if we didn't have medical?
Yeah.
What would we do if we couldn't talk to each other on the phone through, that kind of media technology?
Yeah.
All these things are important. Nobody taught me, Mook, about finances. Nobody told me about investing. We were
Yes.
living for today. We took everything we had, we spent it on today,
Yeah.
not knowing that one day we would wake up and we'd be retired
Right.
and no retirement fund.
Yeah.
What do you do? So it's important. And I thank you again for the information that you've given us. But I have another question that I just wrote this down. The scripture I used when praying about this was in Psalm 145:4. And it talks about how we will share with the next generation all the things that you have done for us, Lord. You were talking about not only what you're doing for your children, but your children's children, for
Yes.
your children's children's children, the legacy you want to leave, and the importance, how it is that you're feeding and you are creating a world for them.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. But I want to ask you this question. I wrote down a word and I want you to tell me when you hear that word, what does it mean to you?
Okay.
And the word is next.
Mm,
Next. What is your next?
that is an amazing question. Um, I don't know, right? And
Okay.
the reason I say that, right, because in this thing called our journey of life, right? For me, I'll never arrive, and that's okay
Mm,
because
okay.
my
Okay.
personal development, like my personal where I'm at, it's a
Mm-hmm.
development. I'm gonna always be in a development stage.
Okay.
So what's next
That's
for
good.
me is to develop. Now you say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
where do you want to develop at? I want to next is developing closer to my family. Next is developing a better relationship with God. Next
Mm-hmm.
is developing a more stable household.
Mm.
Next is teaching my kids about, like you said, investment, right? Like we got both Jalen and Alana when in high yield savings accounts right now. And so
Okay.
next is having them get into that. Having next is having them get into IRAs
Mm.
and investing in their 401k when they're at their job. So next is just for me is just developing better, right? Because if you're an NBA basketball player, you haven't made it. You're still practicing every day. You're still
Right.
doing
Right.
layups. You're still shooting free throws. And so my next is just developing more in every area
Yes.
of life.
And see, that's mine
Yeah, that
too.
would be mine.
Excuse me for interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
Mine too. There was a time I thought my story had come to the end,
Mm,
but I realized there was a next.
yes.
I'm not saying I know all of it, but it hasn't ended. The pages of my life keep turning
That's
because
good.
my circle of life is expanding, not just with my children, but now with their spouses,
Right.
with my grandchildren. And now we're blessed to see great grandchildren. So my next keeps expanding and
Yes.
I want to grow with it. I don't want to wither and die.
Yes.
I
That's
don't want
good.
to be, I don't. I want to keep going. Maybe not as fast as I used to, but I want to keep going.
Yeah. We
I don't
and
want to give up.
yeah, I agree.
I've seen too many people walking around, but they're like dead men walking. They're
Hmm.
functioning, but they're dying inside.
Yes. I
And
know a lot of people
I
like
don't want that to happen. I don't. No matter what physical challenges we may have, as long as I have breath in me, I want to keep pumping life. Like they do when you need a oxygen mask.
that. Yes.
Somebody comes when you're having a hard time breathing on your own. Someone comes and put that mask on you and help you to breathe until you can breathe on your own. And that's what
Hmm.
I want to do. I want to help people breathe until they can breathe on their own.
Nice.
That's important to me.
That's amazing.
So Is there anything else you would like to say to us before we close? I want to thank you. You've really opened my eyes to some things and helped me a lot. Is there anything else you want to share with us before?
So there is, and it's not about me. It's more about giving you and Papa your flowers, right?
Oh,
Because I haven't been married before, and so this is the first time I've been married. The first time I've been, in that marriage kind of world. And the way that Cicely is to me, I can tell that like she was brought up well. And
oh,
so for me, it makes my life easier to know that the person that I'm married to had a good foundation. Now,
hmm,
ain't nobody family perfect, ain't nobody got all
right,
the answers, but it's
right.
the foundation that you guys set that makes, and now I'm making it about me, that makes my life easier. Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I hear married couples saying they wife don't make them feel important, or they're not doing certain things, or they're not making them feel a certain kind of way.
Yes.
And so the foundation that you guys set created a world that, and this is not, and I'm sure all of your children or your in-laws feel the same way, that you guys build an amazing foundation that makes it easier on the people that are coming into that,
Hmm.
especially if they've never seen that, right? Like,
Right.
I don't have a lot of my, we don't have a lot of married people in my family, and so to just see that is like, this is a good foundation to be a part of, and it just makes, my life personally better, that I don't have to. I'm trying, like, I don't have to show my wife how to be a wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to show my wife how to be towards her husband, because all she does is take what she learned and brings it into our house, and it just overflows with just peace, right? And it ain't been perfect, but
Right.
even the reconciliations have been uh, doable, right?
Yes.
It's like we
Yes.
know how to reconcile disagreement. We
Yes.
know how to, you know, deal with each other now. We can be patient, we can be listening and all that. So thank you and Papa for creating an amazing foundation for my my household, because my household is a representation of the foundation that was built from her upbringing, because I didn't grow up in a two-family household. I didn't get to see that. So I know that she's bringing that into our household on how to manage that and how to navigate through it. So thank you and Papa, for real.
Well, honey, I appreciate that so much. And that was another reason um, why the title Heart to Heart is because I had come to a point in my life where I needed to open up. I needed to unlock what was in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn to love even the unlovable. I was talking to someone today. There are people I know, friends of mine especially, people I know that are very difficult for other people to love them because they're kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And I seem to I think it's a God-given thing that he put in my heart to love those who maybe other people don't have the patience for,
Right.
and to see their value. They might
Yeah.
be doing something crazy, but I to look beyond that. There's another person inside of there, and not everybody has the wisdom and the keys to unlock that potential. That's why it's so important what you're telling us. How you see potential.
Right.
You see maybe the future governor on the basketball court.
Right.
Who knows? You might see the next um, superstar. might be behind bars right now, but that's not their end. They just hit a hiccup on their road to life.
Yes.
And so that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. So I want to say thank you for your compliment. Thank you for taking the
Yeah,
time. Once again, I'm going to pray.
for sure. Thank you.
That's what I know what to do. That's what I know
I
what to
love it.
do.
I love it. I love it. I
Maybe
love
other
it.
people do other things, but that's
I
what
love
I
it.
know what to do.
I love it.
There's an old song, have a little talk with Jesus. That's all I know how to do. And sometimes I say, Lord, I don't even know what to say, what's going
Yeah, that's
on.
all you need. Yeah.
So he sees, he reads my tears, the times I sit at my table and just cry. And sometimes I don't even know what I'm crying about.
Mm.
Um, or like I said, I can't put into words, but he he hears me and he's answered and he's allowed me and Papa to see, this time in our life. So, Father, once again, I'm so grateful. I really am. I appreciate this time. I appreciate the patience you have with us, how you've kept your eye on us, even when you told me to go right and I went left, and you told me to go forward and I was stuck in fear and insecurity, comparing myself to other people, complaining, not realizing the blessing that I have in you. And I just bless Andrew, Mook, and his family, the journey that you're taking them on. I pray, God, the doors will continue to open for him, that his influence will be wider, that there will be people that not only hear what he's saying, but actually follow the instructions. Every um, appliance or vehicle we have there, it always comes with a manual, an owner's manual. I thank you for your word that is a manual for us to live by. So I love you, Father, and thank you for this man of God who has been with us tonight and shared so freely from his heart. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.